Yeah, Daryl, and what we've seen is the clocks have actually stopped at T-4, which means we're still in a T-4 on holding time, and we're eating up part of that 36-minute window that we talked about. And the window remaining is about 35 minutes now in our tonight's launch availability. And they'll continue to burn through that availability as they work through this problem. And then they'll figure out the new T0 and clock.
Previous T0 was 1:25 a.m. Pacific time, 4:25 a.m. Eastern time for the launch of the JPSS-2 and lofted mission.
So Daryl, yeah, as we were listening through here, as the team continues to work this issue with the topping, they're at 99.995%, doing some pogo charging on the first stage.
That's the topping, just to be clear, the topping of the locks on the Centaur liquid oxygen tank.
Correct, yeah. Centaur locks. And so we're doing some pogo charging to get ready for liftoff, which takes away a little bit of locks. And so once that's done, they'll start their slow fill again to get back to that 100%. And I do know that we've heard NASA launch manager Omar Baez talking to the team, spacecraft team, engineering team, and the ULA team, looking for targeting a new T0 a little later this morning. We have not heard the official T0 time, so we're still counting down through that window that remains. We have about 33 minutes left in that 36-minute window of availability today. So we sit at T-4 and holding while the team continues this. And as just so people understand, this is a process. The team has procedures in place, and they are following them to the T. And one of the low priority things is to resync the clocks right now as they work through this issue on the rocket. So once they've worked through that, then the team will come back around and sync the clocks back up and figure out where they're going from there. But we have this T-4 hold in place for this reason, to be able to work things. And of course, as we just continue working through the time, that availability in the window just dwindles down ever so slightly.
And you're looking live inside the launch room at the United Launch Alliance headquarters here at Vandenberg Space Force Base, as they currently, as Mick said, working through the Centaur locks issue. And we have heard them discuss the possibility of a new T0, 24 minutes off the original. They're looking at the area of 1:49 a.m. Pacific time, 4:49 a.m. Eastern time, but they have not locked that in because, as you said, locking in the time isn't the priority. Currently working the matter at hand is.
Yes, we want to make sure the rocket is safe. We want to make sure the spacecraft is safe. We want to make sure everything's ready for launch, and if we need to do something, then we'll work that. So we'll use up as much of the window as we can as we continue to work this issue, and then the team will have to make a decision as we get down in those short strokes of the remaining time. But as you and I are listening to some of the engineering discussion, the team is definitely following their procedures methodically, going through some troubleshooting and discussing path forward. So the team is doing exactly what they are trained to do and make sure that the rocket and spacecraft are still safe before we lift off this morning.
Be advised, we are back into topping and we are picking up with the pogo charge.
Roger.
So there we talked about pogo charge earlier. We heard the team just talking that they finally...
I have an expedited outbrief for you.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the team struggled, but we did get the booster LOX tank into topping. We have reviewed the terminal count sequencing and have no different actions to take because of our condition with the 401 valve. Our recommendation is proceed as is with terminal count.
Roger.
Well, good news there.
Yeah.
Proceeding into terminal count, they've gotten the issue with the booster LOX resolved. They've got a plan.
Yeah, and that was great news to hear from Anomaly Chief Dave McFarland from United Launch Alliance, to hear that they've resolved that and they've got into topping, and that they'll get ready to go.
LC on 1, this is RLM.
Go ahead.
Booster locks is back within band. Press permission to acknowledge alarm.
Proceed.
So Daryl, yeah, as we get ready to go, now that they've resolved that, we'll see what Omar Baez does with the T0 time, and as he gets ready for polling and working that T0 time and announce that, then we'll reset the clocks to be able to sync up and move into terminal count, as we heard Anomaly Chief Dave McFarland's recommendation to continue.
Charge is complete.
Roger.
So a little more time for the last Atlas V to launch from the West Coast here in California.
LC, box 1. LC, locks 1. Standby 1 for LC.
Go ahead, Lox 1.
Atlas LO2 at flight level.
Roger.
So that's great news to hear that booster Atlas LOX is at flight level, and they continue their topping of that LOX in the tank, and so we'll continue to move through the procedure, make sure LOX is filled completely in the Atlas and the Centaur vehicle to then get ready for a new T0 this morning. We are still counting down through the window remaining. Daryl, we have about 28 minutes left in our window this morning. So the team, I'm very happy to hear the team is continuing to follow their process and procedures, work through all the things they need to work through, and get us to a safe launch this morning.
And we want to underscore the importance of what was just said there with regards to that flight level for the booster. That was a little bit of a sticking point they were trying to get past, and that's a great sign.
Yeah, as Anomaly Chief Dave McFarland mentioned, they were having some trouble with the booster LOX tank and getting ready for topping. They got that resolved and have moved forward. So absolutely, it's a great sign to hear that. And as we move into finalizing Centaur topping and get everything ready for flight levels.
And so we await the NASA Launch Manager poll. Omar Baez, in his last mission as NASA Launch Manager for the Launch Services Program, getting a little extra time in the seat himself.
Yeah, Omar did announce his retirement for later in 2023 or early 2023. So as you said, his last mission as NASA Launch Manager here on the JPSS-2 mission, and having a little excitement here in the last few minutes of this launch of an Atlas V from Space Launch Complex 3.
And so Omar indicated that he would like to conduct his launch manager poll. When that is ready to go, of course, we'll bring that to you live as it's happening. We're listening in for an indication of when that might start. At the same time, they're also working on hammering out that new T0. As we look live at the Atlas V, all 19 stories of it, at Space Launch Complex 3 here at Vandenberg Space Force, a historic pad here.
Yeah, Daryl, we talked about the 401 configuration earlier as the team continues to work these things. Interesting, as we look at the rocket here, you will see a 4-meter fairing on top. It is the last 4-meter fairing also for the Atlas V program. Built in Harlingen, Texas, hand-painted with the logos on board. It is the EPF, the extended payload fairing that Atlas offers in this configuration. And the reason we had to do that was J2 is the size of J2 and the height, as Megan pointed out earlier. But we also have that lofted mission that sits underneath on a inside some canister spacers. So to be able to accommodate both of those, we needed this extended fairing. And you know, for me to see this last 4-meter fairing launch from Space Launch Complex 3 is another historic moment, along with this last Atlas V out of Vandenberg. So just another unique thing. There you see a
There's
great
that
shot.
hand-painted logo.
Yeah, great shot of that hand-painted logos of the JPSS-2 NOAA, NASA, and lofted. It was pretty cool to watch that being done by the artist who's been doing them for the last 25 years, and so another great historic moment for the Atlas V program.
It really is interesting as you look at that 4-meter fairing to think about how it actually has two vehicles in there. The spacecraft JPSS-2, which is at the very top of that fairing inside, if you can envision, and then below it is lofted, contained in a payload launch adapter and compressed all the way down.
Deflated, I believe, is what it's
Did
called.
I say
right?
inflated?
Deflated.
Deflated, yeah. That's what's an important difference.
LCLD on one.
It will
Go ahead.
inflate.
Yes,
Let's
it
listen
will.
in.
Yeah, let's like for you to coordinate a new T0 of 094900 Zulu.
Roger. RCLC.
RC on 1.
Roger. Please coordinate a new T0 of 09:49 Zulu.
Roger, in work.
And ALC. LC.
ALC.
Roger. Please set the countdown clock for a new T0 of 09:49 Zulu.
0949. Roger.
So we got a new T0 at 1:49 a.m. Pacific time, 4:49 a.m. Eastern time, as you just heard it called out by launch conductor Doug Lebo, and that's a great sign. We're going to eat into the window a little bit, but we've got a new T0.
Yeah, absolutely. We've eaten.
All right,
we've used up part of that
LC.
window remaining.
Yes.
T0 is set for 094900.
Roger.
Which gives us about 12 minutes left in the window if we need it. And we're now in the T-4 hold with about 11 minutes left in the hold. So we're at L-15 minutes, Daryl, coming up. So we should be picking things back up with our normal procedures.
Starting at L-13 minutes at step 60.
And so we'd be looking for that NASA Launch Manager poll at L-13 minutes by Omar Baez, and then we would continue to work our way down. Again, if you're just joining us, this is the launch of JPSS-2 and lofted on an Atlas V rocket off the western coast of California here at the Vandenberg Space Force Base. We've had a delay in our launch, originally scheduled for 1:25 a.m. Pacific time, 4:25 a.m. Eastern time. We've got a 24-minute delay. Our new T0, 1:49 a.m. Pacific time, 4:49 a.m. Eastern time. The Atlas V sitting on the launch pad at Space Launch Complex 3. A historic launch complex. Mick, I know you know it well. And this will be the last Atlas V that will lift off from this pad before this pad gets reconfigured for ULA's next generation rocket, the Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan Centaur will be the next, and the team will start making mods for that. You know, just like we did back in 1999 when we modded this pad to go from original Atlas ICBM rockets to the Atlas 2AS, part of the Atlas family, and then extended the mobile service tower for Atlas V as we get ready to launch today. So another great performance by Atlas V here on the West Coast for all the missions that they have launched, and we look forward to closing out this part of the Space Launch Complex 3's history as we get ready to hear from Omar Baez, our NASA launch manager, on his NLM poll.
Yeah, let's listen in now to our NLM net, as we call it, the NASA launch manager, Omar Baez.
L-13 minutes.
This is the NLM on the
NSC.
NLM net with our final launch poll. NASA CE,
NASA CEs go.
SMA,
SMA is go.
SMD,
SMD is go.
NASA Mission Manager,
NASA Mission Managers go.
LSP.
LSPs go.
NASA's ready to proceed.
So there we heard Daryl Omar Baez complete the NASA poll, getting ready to go into terminal count, and Omar then will report out as part of the launch conductor's poll at L-7. And it was just great to hear everybody giving a go here. That really makes me feel good about the teamwork tonight between the Space Force, ULA, NASA, JPSS-2, and Lofted, all the teams working together. You know, they had this issue that delayed our T0 a little bit, but they worked through it. They got there. We reset the clock. We're now targeting a 1:49 a.m. Pacific time liftoff, and just hearing those goes gives me confidence that you know, we've worked through these things and we can get J2 and Lofted on its way.
And from the shot there, you can see the liquid oxygen that's being vented off.
Flight Control LC.
Go ahead.
Perform launch on time verification.
Roger.
Venting off the locks for the first stage in the lower part, the middle part of your screen. And then the venting of the Centaur as well. Atlas is fully tanked.
LC, this is the RC on channel 1.
Go ahead.
The range has approved our new T0 of 0949 Zulu.
Roger.
That's great news. Range, of course, has to coordinate the launch time. And, of course, the 30th Space Wing here in Vandenberg is responsible for the public safety of everyone around this rocket. And they also keep track of everything that's in the airspace downrange of this launch area. So it's really important and necessary to get sign-off from the range before you go ahead with your new T0.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to coordinate that with the Space Force, as you said, personnel safety here locally, personnel safety in the airspace as we get ready to launch this rocket, and, of course, personnel safety on the water also as we head down range from southerly trajectory leaving the west coast of California here. So very important to get Space Force concurrence, which is why working as teams together is a really good thing. Glad to see that we're getting there as we head down into the count.
L-10 minutes.
You heard the L-10 minute call. 10 minutes until liftoff of JPS-2 and Lofted on an Atlas V rocket.
This is the LC on 1 with a terminal count briefing. If a condition exceeds a launch constraint anytime after the terminal count status check, the observer shall announce hold, hold, hold on channel 1, identify their station, and briefly state the reason for the hold. FTS, verify the hold fire switch is in the proceed position.
Ready to proceed.
RLM, verify redline monitor and event table are in the correct configuration for terminal count.
Verified.
RC, verify solar radiation acceptable for launch.
Verified.
So there we heard launch conductor Doug Lebo verifying that everything with his team is in configuration as he gets ready to head into the launch conductor's terminal count poll at L-7, and explaining to the team that if they see anything that is anomalous or out of family in the terminal count at T-4 and counting, that they are to call a hold, 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 and stop the count. So making sure all teams are ready and understand their responsibility as we get ready to pick up terminal count.
We expect that in just about 90 seconds from now as you look on at the Atlas V rocket in the 401 configuration, the most flown configuration that's been the workhorse of the Atlas V fleet, a rocket that Mick Woltman knows well. It stands at 191 feet tall and weighs 750,000 pounds at launch. It'll throw down 860,000 pounds of thrust at liftoff.
Daryl, you said this is the most flown. It is the 41st 401 configuration flown by ULA, and this is the 97th Atlas V. So that gives you a pretty good idea of how many 401s have flown. As you said, it has been the workhorse for not only NASA, but other commercial entities also that have launched satellites. So I'm very proud that ULA has this vehicle.
A lot of science missions over the years. 5 missions to Mars on Atlas V. Also the first the first interplanetary launch from right here on the West Coast.
Yeah, InSight. And one of my favorites, launched in 2006 on an Atlas V, Pluto New Horizons, heading out to the planet Pluto, as I still believe.
Yeah, that's right. Let's stand by for the poll.
L minus 7 minutes.
Status check to proceed with terminal count. Atlas systems, propulsion.
Go.
Hydraulics.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
Water.
Go.
Centaur systems, propulsion.
Go.
Pneumatics.
Go.
LO2.
Go.
LH2.
Go.
Has gas.
Go.
Electrical systems, airborne.
Go.
Ground.
Go.
Facility.
Go.
RFFTS.
Go.
Flight control.
Go.
GCQ.
Go.
Op support.
Go.
Com.
Go.
Umbilicals.
Go.
ECS.
Go.
Redline monitor.
Go.
Quality.
Go.
Op safety manager.
Go.
ULA safety officer.
Go.
Vehicle system engineer.
Go.
Anomaly chief.
Go.
Range coordinator.
Go.
LDA.
Delay, clear launch.
NLM.
NASA's go.
Launch director.
You have permission to launch.
Proceeding with the count. ALC, verify T0 is set for 09:49 Zulu.
Verified.
That's the poll we wanted to hear, and the result goes across the board. We are green across the board. That's a good configuration to be in, and a good poll.
5 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yes. NSC, verify spacecraft is configured for launch.
This is NSC. Spacecraft is configured for launch.
So that's another great, right there, poll to hear from the NSC, NASA spacecraft.
All steps are complete prior to the terminal count.
That the spacecraft is configured for launch, getting ready to proceed into terminal count at T-4 when the L clock and the T clock sync up. So very happy to get to this point. Very excited that the team was able to work through their issues this morning or this evening and into the morning and get us to this point, Daryl. This is what it's all about, teamwork in getting a rocket launched with important payload for the United States and the world and Weather Observatory, and making sure that we're doing it safely and having mission success this morning.
This mission to go into a low Earth orbit that is sun synchronous and polar in its direction. JPSS-2 in the same orbit as the first JPSS, which is now NOAA 20, and they will be circling our planet, gathering that weather data that is so critical to forecasting severe weather. We're just a few seconds away from resuming.
On my mark, the time will be T-4 minutes and counting. 3, 2, 1, mark.
And there we go. We are out of the hold and
3:55.
now in terminal count. So from T-4 minutes until launch, you'll be listening to the ULA team perform those final steps in the countdown procedure.
Yeah, as we hear the team, they just got the ground pyros ready for the liftoff hold-down bolts. We'll hear them bringing up the command sequencers and a few other things, including that flight termination system that we talked about replacing that battery earlier. And we just hear that hydraulics are at flight pressure. We should be hearing a call out soon that Atlas and Centaur are at flight pressures also, what we call step 3 pressures, which means the vent valves are closed, stopping the venting of liquid oxygen and starting to build up pressure inside the liquid oxygen tanks.
T-3 minutes.
Getting ready for launch.
Also transferring the Atlas and Centaur stages from ground
Atlas
facility power.
flight pressure.
There you hear the flight pressure.
250.
Now looking to transfer that power.
FTS internal.
There we go. Coming up in just about 30 seconds. The team will command the launch sequencer to start. That'll be followed shortly by securing the Centaur, liquid hydrogen, and liquid oxygen topping activity. Then just a few seconds after that, the team will command the flight control system to launch, enable, and arm that flight termination system. We swapped out a battery. Some folks here at the hangar getting ready to go outside.
159.
T-minus 2 minutes until liftoff.
155.
Launch sequencer start.
There we heard the launch sequencer
150.
start you talked about.
Securing Centaur LH2. Securing Centaur LO2.
Centaur locks and hydrogen have been secured,
140.
allowing them to
Launch
build up
enabled.
pressure,
137.
getting them ready for flight.
FTS armed.
There's the arming of the flight termination system. T-minus 90 seconds.
$120.
Excitement building here at the Vandenberg
FTS
Space Force
started.
Base in California.
We should hear shortly that the Centaur
110.
vehicle is at flight verification.
Valve locked.
There's the vent valve shut.
Pressures on their way to flight
T-minus 1
levels.
minute.
Rock, report range status.
Rock range is green.
Great
Range is
news.
green. Yes, range is green. That's great news. Ready to move forward.
If you're just joining us, we are just seconds away, 50 to be exact, from launching JPSS-2, a new weather observatory that will track storms across the globe as it orbits the planet.
40 seconds.
Stable at step 3.
It will also launch Lofton, a technology demonstrator developing a new way to safely bring large payloads through the atmosphere. The final seconds.
25 seconds.
Status check.
Go Atlas. Go Centaur.
Go JPSS-2.
There we go, Daryl. Ready for launch this morning.
On a clear night in California, here we go. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Atlas V, carrying JPSS-2 and Lofton, a new weather observatory for our planet, and a test for planetary exploration.
LSPU has gone to closed loop control.
Yeah, Daryl, as you heard Omar Baez say, LSP-100 on its way also. We're very happy for this 100th mission, the Launch Services Program. Let's listen in as Jesse Gonzalez.
And coming up on 30 seconds
talks
from the
us
flight,
through
vehicle is a half mile in
the flight.
altitude, 2 miles downrange, traveling at 160 miles per hour. And passing 45 seconds of the flight, continuing to see good operating parameters out of the RD-180.
The power of the Atlas V RD-180.
And coming up on a minute into flight,
whole
the
thing's in-
vehicle is ending its roll maneuver, and vehicle body rates are looking good.
Getting ready and approaching Mach 1.
And passing through 80 seconds into flight, Mach 1 Atlas V is now supersonic,
That's
and vehicle is now
769,
passing through max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
769 miles per hour, 1,234 kilometers an hour. Going through the area of maximum dynamic pressure on the
And
vehicle.
passing 100 seconds into flight, seeing the RD-180 throttle back as expected. Engine response continues to look good, and vehicle body rates continue to look good at this time.
Throttling down just a little bit to reduce
Coming
the
up
stress.
on 2 minutes into flight, the vehicle is now 12 miles in altitude, 7 miles downrange, traveling at 1,500 miles per hour. And passing 140 seconds into flight, the vehicle has gone to closed loop control. continuing to see stable body rates throughout the boost phase.
So the rocket was flying in a trajectory that's programmed in, but now closed loop is taking positional feedback from the rocket sensors to get it into the proper line for trajectory. It's going to maintain that ascent line. Beautiful shot there on board.
And RCS is now pressurizing to flight levels.
A shot from our infrared camera.
And the reaction control system has reached flight levels. System response looks good. Vehicle body rates continue to look good as well. Seeing good response out of the RD-180 engine.
Going to start cooling down that Centaur engine in the second stage to prepare for its super chilled propellants to flow through the booster.
About 3 minutes and 15 seconds into flight, vehicle is now 53 miles in altitude, 67 miles downrange, traveling at 5,800 miles per hour. And now seeing the RD-180 throttle back to maintain a 5.0 G acceleration limit. Engine response continues to look good.
We're just seconds away now from booster engine cutoff.
And we did see a good response on the Centaur systems as it completed boost phase chill down. And we have BECO, booster engine cutoff. And we have successful stage separation.
With stage separation
and
now onto the Centaur.
On the RL-10. And we have ignition for the first burn. RL-10 start parameters look good. And we have good indication of payload fairing jettison.
Saw a shot of that booster floating off into space.
Yeah, you can actually see the 4-meter fairing going by there too on the video. It's a great thing looking at the telemetry data. RD-180 performed very well on the first stage. Separation was clean. Payload fairings, you can see on the infrared video there on the screen, the booster falling away and the two little fairings. Pre-start.
Coming up on 5 minutes into flight, this first burn will be about 13 minutes in duration, the first of 3 burns for today's mission. Continuing to see stable RL-10 chamber pressures at the beginning of the burn. And also seeing stable body rates following payload fairing jettison.
RL-10's performing very well. Pre-start was good. Ignition came out very well as we saw in the video, and as the Centaur continues to burn nominally, body rates on the vehicle look very good with payload fairing gone. JPSS-2 exposed to the environments of space.
As it warms the motor catalyst beds for operation.
Explain quickly what a body rate is.
So the body rate's the attitude of Centaur as the vehicle is moving through space. We're trying to keep everything as stable as possible. So we have an X, Y, and a Z body rate on the Centaur, and the flight computer and the RCS system continue to maintain that as we move through to get ready for separation.
And now we're moving to ULA's real-time animation.
6 minutes in flight, the vehicle is now 250 miles in altitude, 430 miles downrange, traveling at 9,400 miles per hour.
The animation is informed by real-time data. As we watch the RL-10 burn and the Centaur fly, at the top of the vehicle is JPSS-2. And there you're looking at the RL-10 as it continues its burn.
And coming up on 7 minutes into flight, continuing to see stable performance across all Centaur systems, stable tank pressures, good performance out of PU, and some minor roll adjustments as Centaur optimizes the telemetry link.
So Centaur with plenty of performance to get there.
Plenty of performance, and everything's looking great. As we heard Jesse say, everything is performing nominally as we get ready to continue this burn for separation.
We're going to keep watching the data and listening to the launch team as we track the performance of the Centaur getting JPSS-2 into orbit. But in the meantime, let's send it back to Megan.
If you're just joining us, I'm NASA's Megan Cruz, bringing you live launch coverage from Vandenberg Space Force Base along the central coast of California.